Today we'll be going over accounts payable payment submission. Payment requests may be entered by the requester in Finance Enterprise using the APOHININ or invoice entry module. Submitted requests are then routed for necessary approvals before payment is fully processed. To ensure payment requests are fully processed, please ensure requirements outlined in the Toro Auxiliary Partners Accounts Payable Guide are met. To start invoice or payment entry, please log into Finance Enterprise using your credentials. Access the Accounts Payable dashboard by selecting it under Menu on the top left corner of the screen. Select APOHININ Invoice Entry under the Invoice Entry header. The APOHININ Invoice Entry screen will appear. Select the plus icon on the top left corner of the screen to enter entry mode. Please ensure this step is done, otherwise the module will remain in search mode. Select the first pencil icon that appears. Select the pencil icon that appears under Invoice Details to expand all fields. Common required fields are Invoice, Invoice number or similar identifier, Invoice date, date of invoice or payment request, Vendor ID, PEID number of payment request. You can use the icon next to the box to look up the PEID if you are unsure. It is recommended to use asterisks around the name being searched to ensure all relevant results are populated. For example, asterisk, Toro, asterisk will populate results containing Toro in the name. To search, press Enter on your keyboard. Other fields are Payment type. This will auto-populate based on the vendor ID used. Most vendors are paid via check or EFT, electronic funds transfer. The following fields are under the Invoice Details main section. Account, org key, the account number being used. Object, the object code number being used. Please view current object code listing for reference. Description, description of payment request. PO number, purchase order number, if applicable. P/F, this field refers to purchase order numbers. P is for partial payment, and F is for full payments on purchase orders. Quantity, typically auto-populates to 1. Unit price, total of the line being entered. Div, for division, select appropriate code from the drop-down list. FN will equal Toro Auxiliary Partners, SU for Student Union, or PF for Philanthropic Foundation. Due date of invoice or payment request. If not given, use invoice date. Bank ID, select appropriate code from the drop-down list. Please note that the bank ID must match the division. If entering a submission that requires multiple lines, select the plus icon under Invoice Details to add any additional lines. Once all information has been entered, select Save icon on the left taskbar. To further demonstrate the accounts payable payment submission process, we will use an invoice in where Teddy the Toro has to pay Staples for the Teddy pens that he purchased. Once Teddy has made his way onto the invoice entry or APOHININ screen, he will enter the invoice number, which is stated on the invoice as 100, the invoice date, which is March 3, 2023, and the vendor ID for Staples. If Teddy did not remember the Staples vendor ID, he would click this icon and search for asterisk, Staples, asterisk. But since he knows it, we will move on. The address code will auto-populate based on the vendor ID. The payment type will auto-populate based on the vendor ID. For user invoice total, Teddy will enter the total of the invoice due. Under Invoice Details, Main, Account, Teddy will enter the account number that he wants to use for the payment of this invoice. He will enter the object code that he would like this expense to hit. In this case, he is coding it under Supplies, Other. The description, he will enter what was given on the invoice, which in this case was Teddy pens, 10 count. This is not related to a purchase order, therefore Teddy will leave it blank. He will also change the P/F to blank. Quantity will auto-populate to 1. For the unit price, Teddy will include the entire price of this invoice since it just relates to one line. This amount will be $110.25. For division, Teddy will select FN. For the due date, since no due date was given on the invoice, Teddy will also enter March 3, 2023, which is the same as the invoice date. For bank ID, Teddy knows this has to match division, so he will also enter FN. Once Teddy has finished entering all information, he will select Save. Finance Enterprise will say Records Accepted, and Teddy can move on to Attachments. Supporting documentation must be attached to all entries. Please refer to the Toro Auxiliary Partners Accounts Payable Guide for appropriate examples of supporting documentation. To attach in Finance Enterprise, select the paperclip icon on the left taskbar. Select Add New Attachment. Once the attachment window opens, select Browse and locate desired file to be uploaded. Teddy has this invoice in a folder named Teddy's Files, so he will upload the invoice. Double-click on your file to attach it. Once the file has been selected, enter a description for the field in the attachment window. Since this is an invoice, Teddy will type Invoice for the description. In the Choose an Attach Definition drop-down box, select AP Attach. Select Attach to finalize uploading of attachment. You can then close this box. If necessary, repeat the process for any additional attachments. All attachments uploaded will appear in the Attachments section. Lastly, Teddy needs to submit this invoice entry for approval. Once information has been entered and attachments have been uploaded, payment submissions must be routed for approval. Select the checkmark icon on the left taskbar. The Approvals tab will appear. Select the Approve icon. Select Submit. Submission will then be routed to the next approver. To check the status of the submission, view the submission in AP Invoice Entry and use the Refresh icon in the Approvals tab. For any questions, please contact auxiliarypartners.ap@csudh.edu.